Alright, so today we're gonna give you guys a tier list, but it's gonna be only stage 1 Pokemons. Yes, I could probably do like every other YouTuber and do a EX tier list. Honestly, I'll probably still do one, but I feel like stage 1s are the most important because they're the cheapest and the most affordable, and a lot of them are very strong. So we have 5 tier, so we have S tier, which is basically meta or very broken. We have A tier, borderline meta, but still very strong. B tier, you can use them if you wanna have fun. C tier, they're okay at best, and then we have trash, literally garbage, dog water. Why are you using these cards? Very, very bad. Speaking of trash, let's start with our first card, Parasect. 120 HP slash 2 green and 1 colorless, deals 80 damage. This is awful. You should not be playing this. Terrible. Honestly, very bad. Don't know why you would ever want to run this card. 80 damage for 3 energy is not great, so leave him down there. Next we have Venomoth, 80 energy, deals 30 damage for 1 leaf energy, and the opponent's Pokemon is poisoned. Honestly, not too bad, especially for how little it costs to deal. So I can definitely see this as a okay Pokemon. I'm gonna put him at B for now, but I think he's closer to C tier. I feel like very underrated. Get your opponent's Pokemon poisoned, and it's a tier 2, very similar to another Pokemon that's on this list. Then we got Executor, 130 HP, 1 leaf energy, deals 30 damage, can potentially deal 60 if you flip ahead. So I'm gonna put this in A tier, borderline S tier, very strong card. However, I feel like there is a better card. Honestly, Kangaskhan is probably, in my opinion, better. Deals same amount of damage, but it's stage 1. Lower floor, but similar upside. So for me, I'm putting it A tier. However, I think it's borderline S tier. Whimsicott, 80 HP, 1 colorless, 40 damage. Could be worse, could be better. I think the only saving grace for this is that it's 1 colorless, so you can run this in any color deck. But 40 damage for 1 colorless is okay. That's why we're putting it in C tier, because it's technically playable. Next, we got Lilligant. Honestly, Lilligant's ability is incredible. 2 leaf energy, 50 damage, and you get to put a leaf energy onto your bench Pokemon. 100 HP is also pretty solid. Could be better if 110 HP would be incredible. So really, really strong. And I'm gonna put Lilligant on S tier. Maybe in the lower end, maybe above A tier, but I think the ability is very strong. One of the main reasons you can actually run those ramp Venusaur decks, I think it's a very strong card, and I think it's an S tier, maybe lower end. Final leaf Pokemon is gonna be Go-Goat. Again, another terrible tier, literally similar to Parasect. I think even deals less damage than Parasect, but the only saving grace is 2 colorless, so definitely just trash. All right, the first fire Pokemon we have is Ninetales. Honestly, probably one of the best fire Pokemon in the game. 90 HP for 2 fire energy. You do 90 damage, but you do discard a fire energy. This card is incredible. I'm gonna put Ninetales at S tier above Lilligant just because it's such a strong card, especially if you're running Blaine. That's the main reason why the Blaine deck is so strong, is that you run Ninetales, you can kill a lot of Pokemon before they can even get going. Next up, we have Arcanine, 130 HP, Heat Tackle, 100 damage for 3 energy, deals 20 damage to himself. I'm gonna put him in C tiers because I think there's some strictly better Pokemons than Arcanine. It is borderline playable if you want to. There's some decks that might work with it, but I'd much rather, again, run Ninetales over this, even some other Pokemon on this. Next up, we got the Rapidash, 100 HP, Fire Main, deals 40 damage for 1 red energy or fire energy, whatever you want to call it. I'm gonna put Rapidash in B tier, just because it's played in the Blaine deck. If it was any other 1 energy 40 damage Pokemon, I'd probably put it in C tier, but just because it's being used in the Blaine deck, I'm putting it B tier, maybe even A, but I think B tier is the right amount. Next up, we got Flareon, 120 HP, deals 110 damage for 3 energy, and you discard a fire energy. Honestly, I think this is a worse version of the Ninetales, and then you also have to run Eevee. Eevee is not the best Pokemon, especially since it's a colorless Pokemon, doesn't really work with a Blaine. So I'm gonna put him in C tier. Honestly, I think that he could be better, but I think you'd just much rather use Ninetales over Flareon, just because Ninetales is 90 for 2 energy, so you actually get better value. Then we got Soleil's, really another trash Pokemon, 90 HP, 60 damage for 2 energy, terrible, not even worth using in any deck. This is probably the worst of the worst trash, to be honest. And finally, we got Centiskorch, 130 HP for 130 damage for 4 energies. Honestly, this Pokemon I thought would be really, really good, but not that great. Maybe a slightly better Flareon. So I put Centiskorch in B tier. Honestly, I think might even be in upper C tier. I just feel like, again, much rather run Ninetales than Centiskorch, but Centiskorch can be used because 130 damage and then 140 with Giovanni can actually kill some Pokemons that Ninetales can't, but it's double the energy, so very tough decision. Next up, we have Golduck, 90 HP, 70 damage for 2 water energy. Honestly, I thought this Pokemon would be better, but I think it's okay at best, because 90 HP is kind of low, but 70 damage is actually really good. So I'm going to move him in the upper B tier, maybe even move him up at A tier at the end of it. I just feel like the 90 damage makes you get one shot a lot. However, I think in an aggressive blue deck, he might be even in the A tier. So I actually put him in the A tier for now. Next up, we got Tentacruel, 110 HP, deals 50 damage for 2 energies, and the Pokemon is now Poison. I think this is an incredible Pokemon. The fact it's 110 is actually over a lot of these Pokemon's one-shot range, and you actually deal 70 damage in quotation mark. Poison is incredible in this game, and you also deal 50 damage, so I think this Pokemon's incredible. And that's why I'm going to put him in the S tier. I think he might be borderline A tier plus, but I think Tentacruel, for such a cheap budget one, is actually really, really strong, and I'm actually even going to put it above Lilligant. Dewgong, 120 HP, 90 damage, Surf. Honestly, I don't think it's very good. 90 damage for 3 water energy, I think it's terrible. Maybe borderline C tier, but I think I'm gonna throw him in trash. And trash is where he goes. Next up, with Cloyster. I think the ability is okay. Minus 10 damage, 120 HP, deals 70 for Surf. But still, overall, I don't think it's playable, so probably going in the trash. In the trash it goes. Our next up with Kingler, 120 HP. The KO Crab's ability is actually so incredible. You have a chance to knock out a lot of EX Pokemons. However, it's a high risk, high reward. You can actually deal 160 damage, or you can deal basically 80 damage for the 3 energy. I thought about putting him in S tier just because the high risk and high reward is so strong, but similar to how you have Executor, I think I'm gonna put Kingler just above, because you can actually deal a lot of damage and kill them. But you know what, I'm gonna put Executor above. And the reason I put Executor above is just I think that having that early 30 damage is better than having that late 160. But again, high risk, high reward. Next we got Seadra, 70 HP. For triple water, you can deal 50 damage to any Pokemon, which I think has its use because you can snipe people on the bench. If it was 60 damage or even 70 damage to any Pokemon, this card would be incredible. But the fact of the matter that it's only 50 damage means that it's not that great. But if you combine it with Greninja, you can definitely make a deck work with this. But I'm gonna put it in the C tier. Then we got Sea King. Honestly, probably the highest risk reward card. 80 damage for 1 boo potentially is probably the highest per energy damage you can do, but you also have the upside of doing 0. But 80 damage kills a lot of Pokemons in the game. I haven't played much with Sea King, and I'm fairly confident in this trash, but because of the fact you can actually deal 80 damage for stage 1, seems pretty nice, so I'm gonna put it in the bottom of the C tiers. Borderline trash. Then we got regular Starmie. Technically speaking, Starmie X is stage 1, but we're only doing regular basic Pokemon, so calm yourself, guys. But we have Starmie. Water energy, deals 40 damage, 90 HP. Not amazing, not terrible. Again, I think it's just slightly worse than Rapidash. However, the only saving grace is the fact that it has no retreat, so I probably put in the same tier as Rapidash. I'll just put it right behind Rapidash, so that way it's fairly close. Might even move it up just because their free retreat is actually really good, but 90 HP is tough. Then we have Gyarados, 150 HP. Hyper Beam deals 100 damage for 4 water energy, but you also discard a random energy from a Pokemon. This is an incredible Pokemon. It actually kills a lot of decks, especially the ones that require you to get energies every turn, such as Mewtwo as well as Charizard. But the fact it does require a lot of time to set up, I can't put this in S tier, so I'm gonna put it in the A tier, and I'm gonna put it above Kingler, below Executor. Then we have Vaporeon, 130 HP, 60 damage, Bubble Drain, also costs 3 energy, and you heal yourself for 30. First, I thought this card was gonna be really good because you heal yourself. However, this game does have a lot of one-shot potential, so getting one-shotted by a lot of Pokemons is not great with Vaporeon, and you don't have as much HP as the EXs. So at borderline, I think it might be C tier, maybe B tier, but for now we'll just put it with the other evolutions, and we'll put it right next to Flareon. Maybe a little bit better. Swanna, probably another trash tier. 90 HP, wing attack, not great, 70 damage. There's always going to be these trash tiers in each color. Throw them in the trash. Next is probably, in my opinion, the best blue card, Frostmoth. Powder Snow is so good. 40 damage for 2 energy, but the main thing is your opponent is asleep. 90 HP is a little bit low, but getting your opponent asleep means that half the time they won't be able to attack you, which is incredible and is one of the main reasons these stall decks work so well. I'm going to put Frostnom right now, S tier, above even Ninetales. This is one of the few Pokemons I don't own, but it's going to be Raichu. Raichu actually is pretty solid. 140 damage for triple lightning energy, but you discard all your light energy, but you combine this with Lieutenant Surge, and this deals a lot of damage. It's actually one of the quick combos you can use in those like Pikachu decks that you can knock out a lot of Pokemons. Honestly, not too bad of a Pokemon. Because of its utility, I'm actually going to put it up into the A tier. above even Gyarados, just because I might even drop it down. I think Gyarados is too strong, but I just feel like Raichu being able to deal 150 damage with Giovanni out of nowhere is actually incredible. So you know what, for now, let's just put it above the Kingler. Then we got Magneton. The ability is pretty good. One of the few Pokemons that are stage 1 that have abilities and actually attaches electricity. So this is actually a very strong combo with Lieutenant Surge and the Raichu. However, on its own, not that great, but because of the ability, I kind of have to put it in that B tier. I'm gonna put it on the high B tier. I think it might be even borderline end of the A tier, but I just feel like it's very niche. It's only good with that Raichu deck. Next up, we have Electrode. 80 HP, 70 damage, no retreat. I think this is very strong, especially if you're running the electric deck. I think running this with Pikachu EX, it's a no-brainer because you can just free retreat, which I think is incredible. And 70 damage for 2 lightning energy is not that bad. So I'm gonna put him right next to Raichu. I think that's a perfect spot. Maybe I might even put the Kingler above, but I just feel like this is too consistent. Okay, next we got Jolteon. Probably one of my favorite lightning Pokemon, if not the favorite evolutions out there. The fact is, most of the time you're gonna be dealing 80 damage for two energy, which I think is already incredible, but you have the upside of dealing 160 damage, which will knock out a lot of Pokemon, including EXs. So because of that, I like the consistency. I do feel like the fact that it can get 0, having a 0 floor is very bad. However, I do think it's better than the Executor. And if you want to run that lightning deck without running the Pikachu EXs, you can actually run with Jolteon. And dealing 106 damage would be crazy, but you know what? I'd be happy if I can just deal 80. Next up, we got Zebstrika. Honestly, I think this Pokemon is very underrated. For 1 lightning energy, you can deal 30 damage to any Pokemon. So if anybody retreats, you can deal 30 damage with Zebstrika. However, I don't think it's as good as some of the other Pokemons available on this list, and I can't really in my right mind use it in like A tier or S tier because it's only used in the lightning deck that require Pikachu EXs as a filler, but I do think its potential is there. So I moved to C tier, maybe B tier, but even then, like, yes, you can hit the bench. However, you're not really able to, you know, do anything else. So we'll keep it there. Then we got Heliolisk. You know what? Honestly, okay. Not terrible. 90 HP. Quick attack deals 40. Could deal 80 damage. So similar to Executor, but obviously a lot worse. So I'm going to put in the C tier. I feel like some people might want to use it, but I'm not that type of guy. Then we got Clefable, 100 HP, 40 damage. You know, the typical per color, 1 retreat. Not the best, to be honest, but if you want to use it in the Mewtwo deck, get a little tank early, I can see it, but for me, not the best. Put it in C tier. It's not trash. It can still be used, but really not that great. We got Slowbro, really another trash Pokemon, similar to every other color similar to this. 3 energy for 80 damage is just not going to cut it. Yeet! Hypno next, ability incredible. Heads, I win. Tails, you lose. Okay, jokes aside, being able to make your opponent asleep and being able to use this in any color deck is incredible. So I'm definitely going to be putting this in S tier. S tier after Frostmoth. Honestly, I think it's a toss-off. Maybe even put it above Frostmoth. You get the chance to put it in any deck, but Frostmoth is very, very strong. So we'll put it there for now. I think it's the top of the top right now. We got Subat next, another trash Pokemon, really 30 damage for 2 energy, not great. Next we got Golurk. This is the stage 1 that can deal the most damage in the game, but the downside, it can deal 0 damage, high upside, low floor like usual. You can use this Pokemon in the Gardevoir budget deck, but I don't think it's amazing. That being said, I'm going to put it in the B tier because of the chance that you can knock out even the biggest EXs. I think it has a small potential. Next up, we have Sandslash. Honestly, not too bad. 70 damage for 2 fighting energy, 100 HP. Only downside, 2 retreat. And I would honestly put this higher, but I think it's still manageable. It's just the biggest downside is the fact that it's 2 retreat. So I'll probably put in the higher end of the B tier. You can use it in the aggressive decks that uses fighting energy, but I don't think they're as strong as these A tiers. I don't think it's just there. If it is A tier, on the bottom of it. Next up we have Dugtrio. 70 HP is not much, but for 1 fighting energy, you deal 40 damage. And if you flip heads, you actually take no damage, which I think is incredible. And I know not a lot of people have been using it, but I think it's probably the most underrated right now. And I personally am going to put this in the S tier, but I am going to put it in the lower end because there's a few ways to counteract this, like Sabrina and the Pidgeot. But it's still a very strong card. But yeah, I'm gonna put the Dugtrio in the S tier right here, right next to Lilligant. Continuing on with Primate. Primate right now 90 damage, fight back is 40, but it can deal 100 damage if it's taking damage. Want to put a caveat on this. Right now this card is not great. It's probably in the C tier, but there's a Mankey that's coming out that deals damage to himself when he attacks, and then combined with the Primate is actually gonna be really strong. I think that deck is gonna be good, but for now, in this current moment, I'm gonna put him in C tier. I'm gonna put him in above the other thing in C tier because I think doable. Like, you can definitely do some damage with this. Then we got Marowak. Honestly, not that bad. 40 damage for 1 energy, 100 HP. Could be worse, could be better. So let's just put him in the average tier. And B list is where you go. Then I got Menshao, another one of those 1 energy, 40 damage, 1 retreat. The only downside is 80 HP is on the lower end. So maybe I'll put it in C tier because it is technically playable, not trash. But let's just go ahead and move them in C tier. The final fighting Pokemon is Graplock. Honestly, not that bad. I feel like the knockback ability is very, very strong, especially if you combine it with like a deck that actually deals damage to the bench. So potentially use Greninja as a, you know, enabler or finisher. I think this could be decent. But for now, it doesn't really have much use, so I'll put it in the C tier right above Primate. Then we got Arbok. Arbok's ability is incredible, 60 damage for 2 energy, but your opponent can't retreat. And you have 100 HP, so probably one of the strongest stage 1s in the game. So I'm going to put him in the bottom of S tier because I think it's very strong. I think the corner ability is incredible, but I don't think it's as broken some of the ability on top. And borderline, I might even put above A tier, but for now, let's just leave it in the S tier. Then we got Golbat, 70 energy, 40 damage, nothing crazy. So let's put him in the C tier. It's not trash per se. C tier is where you go. Next, we got Muck, 130 HP, 70 damage for 3 energy, but you could actually do an extra 50 damage, so 120 damage for 3 energy if they are poisoned. So in a poison deck, this card is very strong, but on its own, not that great. That being said, I do think that it's still a very strong deck, the poison deck, so I'll put it B tier right below the Sand Slash. Next, we got Weezing, 110 HP, Gassic ability, makes the opponent poisoned, and you also tackle for 30 damage for 1 energy, which I think is incredible. Probably one of the best Pokemons in the darkness type. The fact you can Gas Leak and combine it with Koga means that this card is meant to stall out forever. And I'm going to put S tier above Tentacruel just because I feel like it's a better Tentacruel. Plus, you can also, with Koga, come back. You have 110 HP and you can tackle for 30 damage for 1 energy. So, for my opinion, that's a very strong card. Then we got Bisharp. Honestly, if you're using a metal deck, this card could work. 1 retreat and 70 damage. It's not bad. But again, I don't think the metal deck is super playable. But I will put in A tier right there, right behind Golduck. Another Pokemon I don't have, Melmetal. The ability is incredible. Taking 20 less damage is pretty good. And the attack is okay, 120 damage. But with the ability of the Meltan, I think it's called, you can actually get this pretty fast. So I would maybe even try using this deck in a metal deck. It's okay. I don't think it's incredible right now. I think it get a lot better if metal cards have more support, but I'll put it in the B tier for now. We got Raticate. Again, you can use him, especially since it's colorless, but me personally, I wouldn't. Borderline trash. At the end of C tier, you can use, but you know what? Let's just throw in trash because it's Eradicate. Who cannot hate on Eradicate? We got Pharaoh next. I think this card is super underrated. Be able to take off a random energy, I think is really, really strong. So I might even put this a little bit higher than most people. I might put it in the bottom of B tier just because I think the ability is very strong. So I put it at the bottom of B tier list. I think it has potential, especially since it's colorless. You can use it in any deck, and maybe it could be used in a control deck. The only downside is that heads or tails, right? So you're not gonna do it, and the damage is not great for 2 colorless energy. So I am gonna put it maybe the top of, you know what, let's put it top of C tier. I think that's more reasonable. Then we got a base Wigglytuff. Honestly, I don't think it's that great. I'm gonna try to use other options, so I'm gonna put it in the trash tier. In the trash tier it goes. Next, we got Persian. The ability is to flip a coin. If you get head, you discard a random card from your opponent's hand. Honestly, this could be game changing if you discard their EX or you discard any of their stage 2s. I think this is really strong. I don't think it has been used enough, so I will be putting this higher than most people. In B tier, right here in between Centiskorch and Marowak. And I feel like I say this all the time, colors have so much underrated Pokemon. Dodrio, 80 HP, 1 colorless for 40 damage, but free retreat. So this could be used. You can kind of poke early on and then retreat for free. It just has a downside of having 80 HP. So there is some potential, but I don't think it's amazing. So I will put it in the C tier, maybe in the middle. Yeah, right here feels about right. Aerodactyl is technically a stage 1. The card's ability is okay. You can shuffle your opponent's Pokemon into their deck, but the decks are so small that they can draw it back. But the fact is you can take out stage 2s as well as like fully energized Pokemons, mean that it can turn the tide. Doesn't deal any damage though, so I'm gonna put it on the bottom of B tiers just because I think it can have potential. Then we got Cinccino. I feel like this could have potential if the bench was more, but the fact that there's only 3 bench, it only deals 90 damage for 3 colorless energy. So for me, this is just trash. Yeah, and the downside is just too much. Like if you have no bench, it deals 0 damage. but you can only deal 90 damage max. Again, Pikachu is just strictly better. Yeah, Pikachu's EX though, so I'm putting this there. And the final one, Double, another trash Pokemon. It kind of sucks that we're ending on a trash Pokemon, but it is what it is. 80 damage for 3 colors is just not good enough. And there we go, right in the trash next to the other one. I'm actually gonna move Aerodactyl down here. All right, so this is our final tier list. I actually made maybe a small change. Originally, I was gonna change them within the tiers, but I feel like within the tiers, they're still very strong. There's no point in changing it. And even within S and A tier, they're also very close. But we take a look. We have Hypno, Frostmoth, Ninetales, Weezing, Tentacruel, Lilligant, Dodrio, and Arbok. Those are going to be our S tiers. Then for A tier, we have Jolteon, Executor, Gyarados. We have the Electro, Raichu, Kingler, Golduck, and the B Sharp. So A tier plus. I might even low-key think about B Sharp going down to the B tier, but for now we'll keep it there. Then in B tier we have Sandslash, Muck, Magneton, Goluk, Melmetal. We have Rapidash, Starmie, Venonat. We have Centiskorch, Persian, and Marowak. And then C tier we have Aerodactyl, we have Pharaoh, Graplock, Primate, Zebstrika, Vaporeon, Dodrio, Seadra, Arcanine, Flareon, Whimdot, Kingler. We have Clefable, Helios, Minchao, and Golbat. Honestly, Golbat could probably go into trash, and the trash is just all trash. You guys really care about the trash? Let's be honest, you don't. It's all trash here. But this is my stage 1 tier list. You guys let me know, like, if you had to choose which one to pick, obviously go for the S tiers. But if you want to build deck based on any of these, ultimately have fun. Whatever you pull with, play with what you want. But again, if you want to build some strong decks, I recommend using these S1 tier lists and using these Pokemons to build. Anyway, hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know if you agree or disagree with the video, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.